Christianity provides a rational basis for science, while atheism destroys science. From a worldview of atheism, science does not make sense. When I say atheism, I mean the idea that there is nothing beyond physical matter. There are no souls or spirits or anything supernatural. Technically, this is called naturalism and not atheism, but most of the time the atheist is also a naturalist. The problem between atheism and science has been aptly named reductionism. In other words, if you and I are at the core are just physical matter with no supernatural spirit, then many problems arise. That means that when you tell your girlfriend that you love her, you really mean that you are having a chemical reaction. That would mean that you don't ever actually make choices. The chemicals in your brain just react because of their basic properties. If a couple hydrogen atoms happen to have a velocity that bumps them into an oxygen atom, then they will bond. They will form H2O. If our brains are nothing more than a complicated version of this, then we don't really make choices. If we could know all the chemicals present in the brain and what velocities their particles have, then we could predict exactly what you would think and do. In this reductionist scenario, you don't even choose to be honest. This makes science a useless pursuit. We have all, at times, lied to other people. Sometimes we have even lied to ourselves. So when the scientists do their work, are they being honest? Are they lying about the results of experiments to us or even themselves? Is global warming fake, or is it going to happen? Do genetically modified crops cause cancer? They tell us that if we take the watered-down version of methamphetamine called Adderall, then it's safe. But is it? They tell us that nuclear power is safe, but is it? How can we know anything when we don't even choose what we think? What really verifies when the chemicals are being honest and when they cause you to believe lies? You don't have any control. The chemicals just react. Sometimes atheists argue that we can know that scientists are telling the truth because evolution causes them to. They've evolved that way. But how do you atheists know that the chemicals in your brain are telling the truth when they cause you to think that? Maybe your idea that evolution causes you or the scientists to be honest is a lie caused by the chemicals. Maybe the question about that you are asking yourself about whether evolution really causes you to be honest is itself just a lie caused by the chemicals. What really controls how these chemicals react? Maybe all your knowledge about all the times you realized that you were lied to by somebody, maybe all that was itself a lie caused by the chemicals. How do you know that was true knowledge? And even if we propose some theory that seems to make sense about how the chemicals always cause us to be honest, we still have to ask if the chemicals are simply causing us to think that or even propose that idea. How can we ever know anything if we don't make the freely willed choice to be honest? And that is the problem with reductionism that atheism leads us directly into. Thinking itself is a serious problem for atheism. To do science, humans need to be in control of the all-important choice, to be honest, both with the self and everyone else. You may be thinking that you are certain that you know some things to be true. Well, if you are thinking that, you can be sure that you are a supernatural being in possession of free will. Atheism doesn't destroy knowledge. We know that 1 + 1 = 2. It's a fact. We don't have to believe in God to know that. But because we know facts like that and others, then we can be certain that we have a supernatural free will. You have a soul. There is more to you and all that exists than just the physical. Atheism, in the strict sense of naturalism, cannot be true. You may be wondering how atheists who claim to believe this deal with the idea that they are nothing but chemical reactions. Physicists Lawrence Krauss and Sean Carroll have encountered this idea in debates with William Lane Craig. They dealt with it by saying that all human choices are determined by chemical reactions, but the chemical reactions are so complex that they appear to be the same as free will. So they proceed as though they have free will, safely telling themselves that the chemical reactions are too complex to understand. In essence, they are pretending the problem of reductionism does not exist. If I had to guess, they are doing this because the problem of reductionism destroys atheism, and they are totally unwilling to give up atheism. It's always amazing when atheists who make themselves to be the enemies of blind faith are themselves having blind faith. Give up your atheism. It is a ridiculous idea. This still leaves many problems with how reductionism reduces humans themselves to nothing but chemical reactions and bags of skin. What about our beliefs in good and evil? If I am nothing but a chemical reaction, then how on earth did one reaction in my complicated brain ever come to be pleasure, and another come to be pain? Sure, the chemical system could react to avoid a certain situation while also trying to find another, like some kind of machine. But why would one of them be considered a good situation and another one be considered a bad situation? The very words good and bad express something that chemical reactions can never produce on their own. They express how things should be, not how they are. With chemical reactions, things just are what they are. They just react how they do. But arriving at an idea that something is good and another thing is bad requires a being with the supernatural gift of free will and desire, purpose, thought. So if anyone ever experiences the notion that he or she does not like a thing, then he or she is expressing that there is more than science can ever explain. And that is why the idea that science is the only way to knowledge is reductionist and destroys science itself. Christianity created science and provides a basis where science makes perfect sense. In the golden age of England, Francis Bacon proposed a new idea called the scientific method. He proposed that we can make guesses about how the world works and then test them with experiments and observations. If we fail to prove our guess wrong after many tests of it, then we will assume it to be true. Logically, it may not actually be true. As the atheist philosopher David Hume pointed out, we can never be there to observe all events. So, in fact, science isn't really stable. Philosophers of science have pointed out that new data flows in constantly. Slowly, this data builds up a sort of inertia of ideas, or what they call cognitive dissonance, and science begins to shift. Old theories go down and new theories come up, and it doesn't matter where you get your theory from. You can dream it up one night in your bed. As long as it fits the data we have right now, then it's useful. But as data flows in, you better get back to dreaming. This idea of Francis Bacon had its opposition, like anything does at a good university, but he provided reasoning to support it. He quoted the Bible. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every tree with seed in it, in its fruit. You shall have them for food, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the heavens, and to every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. And God saw everything he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Bacon argued that since God meant for us to manage the world that God had created, then we can move forward with our best guesses. We don't have to know with mathematical, logical certainty how the world works to manage it, since God designed it to be managed by us. And Bacon's idea of the scientific method, which he based on Genesis chapter 1, really seemed to be right, didn't it? We have become much better at managing our world, and we owe science for this. I could start to list things, but how can I? There are so many things that